President Trump each issued statements of condemnation of the test. Watch.
North Korea's most recent missile launch is absolutely intolerable. North Korea must fully comply with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions.
I just want everybody to understand and fully know that the United States of America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%. Thank you.
So the question for a lot of people, is this a direct message to President Trump? What's happening in North Korea? Here's what Jim Walsh, a senior international research associate at MIT, told CNN a bit ago.
Part of this is sort of set-piece theater. You know, we're going to have the Japanese prime minister and the South Korea temporary president and President Trump all come out and say this is unacceptable and this is terrible. And, you know, we'll pursue tougher measures. And there'll probably be a UN resolution at some point. But if we sort of step back from all of that, which is, you know, set theater, as I say, what strikes me about it is the North Koreans they test a missile. It's not a test of an ICBM, a intercontinental ballistic missile, like they threatened to do. This strikes me, and based on what I know about friends having conversations with North Koreans, as pushing a little bit, but not too much, and sort of waiting to see what President Trump will do. So I think we have a bit of tactical play here by the North Koreans.
Well, let's welcome back and continue the conversation with CNN political reporter Tom LoBianco and CNN political commentator and Spectrum News anchor Errol Lewis. Errol, let me start with you, and I want to talk about this statement, just 14 seconds from President Trump last night there in Florida. And let's put up the tweet that Donald Trump, before he ran for office, tweeted back in April of 2013, critical of President Obama when he said, "Where is the president? It is time for him to come on TV and show strength against the repeated threats from North Korea and others." And again, here's what the president said as president now about North Korea.
I just want everybody to understand and fully know that the United States of America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%. Thank you.
I mean, if you cut the thank you, that could have been a tweet. What do you make of the length and the depth or lack thereof of the statement from the president?
Well, I don't want to read too much into so few words, Victor, but what I took away from it was him saying, we stand behind Japan. That's in keeping with some of what President Trump has said about the regional partners, South Korea and Japan in particular, needing to sort of take the lead when it comes to these things, that the United States was not going to be a big regional player and handle all of the relationships. He even went so far as to suggest that perhaps nuclear weapons could be something that Japan could deploy on its own as a form of brinksmanship against North Korea or any other threat. So what I took from this is him sort of saying the U.S. will be the big brother in the background with all of its devastating potential, but that he was not going to jump out front. And so we didn't hear from him even a hint of sort of the broader kind of regional descriptions and doctrines that you would hear from President Obama.
All right, so you mentioned the suggestion that Japan could have its own nuclear weapons. We have that from the CNN town hall back in March of 2016. Let's watch for a reminder.
Wouldn't you rather, in a certain sense, have Japan have nuclear weapons when North Korea has nuclear weapons? And they do have them. They absolutely have them. They have no carrier system yet, but they will very soon. Wouldn't you rather have Japan, perhaps, they're over there, they're very close, they're very fearful of North Korea, and we're supposed to protect.
Now, the president, Tom, has appeared to back off of that talk and kind of backed away from it, even claiming that he never said it late in the campaign and after his election.
Well, right. Yeah. You know, what's fascinating about that is, you know, kind of building on what Earl was saying there, is that, you know, look at what he was saying back then and, you know, look at the overall policy, which tends to be more, I don't want to say isolationist per se, but, you know, pulling back from the world stage, at least from what we've seen and heard so far. You know what this had me thinking about earlier was looking back to last week, the problems that we saw with National Security Advisor Mike Flynn towards the end of the week, where there's huge questions about whether he was back-channeling with Russia before Trump even took office, and whether he was being honest with the Trump administration about that. You know, if you look at stuff like this, you remember the Clinton 3 a.m. phone call ad from 2008, where they talk about these key, it kind of hints to the key decisions that have to be made on the fly. You know, you need your team in place for stuff like this. This is the kind of things where you will have a wild card like North Korea testing you, testing to see where you are. So, you know, it's still kind of rocky. That was kind of an easy call for the Trump administration. I mean, you know, again, not an awful lot there, but there were some key hints, as Errol pointed out. But, you know, there's going to be other things that come up, and you need to have a team in place that you trust.
Errol, do you deduce that the Trump administration sees this, or the president sees this, as a test of his leadership, his administration, when his statement goes only as far to say, I stand behind Japan?
Well, sure. I mean, look, he's there was a kind of a menacing quality to both the terseness of it and, frankly, the look on his face and the tone of his voice. So I'm not sure it's going to have the intended effect. I don't get the notion that the military and leadership of the North Korean dictatorship is going to be overly impressed by that, but that's how it came across to me. I suspect also, though, that we're going to have to get into a broader discussion now that we have for this administration a sitting Secretary of State about where China plays into all of this. There was also a lot of talk on the campaign trail about the United States putting pressure on China to bring North Korea sort of under control. That's a complicated dance that you have to do, because we've got a bunch of other kind of military and security and economic conversations going on with China at the same time. So this is not something where simple brinksmanship is going to get the job done. And, you know, one more limit on what President Trump can do. I think it's got to be a little bit frustrating for him, because what sounded very simple on the campaign trail, not so simple now that you're sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah, just weeks ago, then President-elect, it was just the beginning of January, he tweeted several times about trying to get China to put some pressure on North Korea. Tom, as we wrap this up, any indication that this administration wants to return to those six-party talks, potentially to try to get North Korea back to the table, or are they going to, as the president has hinted before the election and since, try to outsource this exclusively to China?
Well, you know, I think, you know, like Errol was saying, it's almost like they don't have a choice here.